Commander Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the massive battle unfold in space around her. Green laser beams shot across the darkness like deadly lightning. Ships exploded in bright flashes of orange and white. The smell of burning circuits filled the air as sparks flew from damaged control panels. "Report!" Chun shouted over the noise of alarms and explosions. "The Void Swarm is breaking through Sector 7, called out Lieutenant Martinez from his station. "Human ships are taking heavy losses." Chun gripped the metal railing in front of her. The Void Swarm was humanity's greatest enemy. These alien creatures looked like giant space bugs with black shells and red eyes. They ate everything in their path, turning entire planets into empty rocks. For 30 years, humans had fought them. With help from their allies, the Altarians were tall, blue-skinned beings with silver eyes. They claimed to be peaceful traders who wanted to help humanity join the galactic community. Their ships were sleek and white, covered in glowing symbols. Human leaders trusted them completely. "Where are the Altarian reinforcements?" Chun asked. "They should be here by now." "Coming in from the left flank, Commander," reported Ensign Park. "Their entire fleet is moving into position." Chun felt relief wash over her. The Altarian fleet was huge, over 200 ships compared to humanity's 80 vessels. With their advanced technology and powerful weapons, they could turn the tide of this battle. The Void Swarm had never faced such a large combined force before. "All ships, prepare for a final assault," Chun spoke into her communication device. "The Altarians are here. We can win this." Cheers erupted across the bridge. After months of running and hiding from the Void Swarm, they finally had a chance to stop the creatures once and for all. Chun watched as the white Altarian ships moved into perfect formation behind the human fleet. "Something's wrong," whispered Tactical Officer Reynolds, staring at his screen. "The Altarians aren't targeting the Void Swarm. They're pointing their weapons at us." Chun's blood turned cold. "What did you say?" "Commander, I'm reading weapons lock from the Altarian fleet. They're targeting our ships, not the enemy." Time seemed to slow down. Chun looked at the tactical display showing hundreds of small dots. Blue dots represented human ships. White dots were the Altarians. Red dots showed the Void Swarm. The white dots had their weapons aimed at the blue ones. "This has to be a mistake," Chun said, but her voice shook. "Contact Admiral Keflin on the Altarian flagship, now." The main screen flickered and showed the face of Admiral Keflin. His silver eyes seemed to glow with cold light. His mouth formed what humans had learned was an Altarian smile, but now it looked cruel and evil. "Greetings, Commander Chun," Keflin said in perfect English. "I hope you have enjoyed our partnership. Admiral, your ships are pointing weapons at us. There must be some error in your targeting systems." Keflin's smile grew wider. "No error, human. No error at all." "What are you talking about? We're in the middle of a battle." "The Void Swarm is right there." "Yes, they are. And they are about to have a very good meal." Chun felt sick. "You're working with them? With the Void Swarm? Working with them?" "Oh no." "Commander, we created them." The words hit Chun like a physical blow. Around the bridge, her crew stared in shock and horror. The Void Swarm, the creatures that had destroyed dozens of human colonies and killed millions of people, were Altarian weapons? "You monster," Chun whispered. "Why?" "Because humans are useful, but only for a while. You fight well. You die well. You make excellent soldiers when properly motivated. But now you know too much about our technology. You ask too many questions. You want to be equal partners instead of grateful servants. The other species in the galaxy won't stand for this." Keflin laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "What other species? The Zenthari? We told them humans attacked their trade ships. The Vorkan? They believe you stole their mining rights. Every species in the galaxy thinks humans are violent savages who can't be trusted." Chun realized the full scope of the betrayal. For 30 years, the Altarians had been humanity's only contact with galactic civilization. Every piece of information about other species came through them. Every trade deal, every diplomatic message, every news report was filtered through. Altarian sources, you lied about everything. We told you exactly what you needed to hear. Humans are so eager to be accepted, so desperate to prove you belong among the stars. It made you very easy to control. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge. Commander, the Altarian fleet is powering weapons, Reynolds called out. All ships prepare for incoming fire. Chun grabbed her communication device. All human. Vessels, this is Commander Chun. The Altarians have betrayed us. Repeat, the Altarians are hostile. Take evasive action immediately, but it was too late. The space around them lit up with white energy beams as 200 Altarian ships opened. Fire at once. The human fleet, caught completely off guard, had no chance to defend themselves properly. The UE's courage exploded in a ball of fire to their left. The U's valor took direct hits to its engines and began spinning out of control. Everywhere, Shun looked, human ships were dying. Shields at 60% and falling, reported Martinez. We're taking heavy damage. Return fire. All weapons, target the Altarian flagship. The Defiance's weapons shot back, but their bullets and missiles seemed to barely scratch the enemy ships. The Altarians had given humans some advanced technology over the years, but they had kept the best weapons for themselves. Commander, the Void Swarm is moving, Park shouted. They're attacking our damaged ships. Chin watched in horror as the black bug-like creatures swarmed over the crippled human vessels. The Void Swarm didn't just destroy ships, they consumed everything, including the crews. It was the most horrible way to die she could imagine. We need to retreat, Reynolds said. We can't fight both fleets at once. Chun's mind raced. Retreat meant abandoning the crews of the damaged ships to the Void Swarm, but staying meant losing every human vessel in the battle. They had walked into a perfect trap. All remaining ships, fall back to jump point 7, she ordered. Emergency. Retreat. What about the Courage survivors? Martinez asked. They're in escape pods. Chun closed her eyes for a moment. She could see the small pods floating helplessly in space, filled with her friends and fellow officers. The Void Swarm was already moving toward them. We can't save them, she said, the words tasting like poison in her mouth. If we try, we'll all die. The remaining human ships turned and fled toward the edge of the system where they could jump to hyperspace. Behind them, the Altarian fleet didn't follow. They just watched as their former allies ran for their lives on the main screen. Kethlin appeared one last time. This is what happens to species that forget their place, Commander. Tell the other humans what you have seen here. Tell them that the Altarians are their superiors. Perhaps we will let some of you live as servants. Chun stared at the alien's face, memorizing every detail. I'll tell them something else, she said quietly. I'll tell them that you made a mistake today. What mistake is that? You left witnesses alive, and humans never forget. We never forgive. And we never give up. Kethlin's smile faded slightly. Empty threats from a beaten enemy. Not threats, Chin replied as the Defiance jumped to hyperspace. Promises. The stars stretched into lines of light and the battle was over. But Chin knew this was not the end. It was just the beginning of something much larger and more terrible. The Altarians had betrayed humanity, but they had also made humanity stronger. Now the real war could begin. 5 years had passed since the betrayal at the Battle of Kepler Station. Sarah Chun stood in the dim lighting of mining platform Omega-7, watching through a thick window as asteroids slowly tumbled through space. Her hair was longer now, streaked with gray, and a scar ran down her left cheek from a piece of flying metal during their escape. The platform was home to 300 humans, all refugees from the war. It had once been a simple mining operation, pulling valuable metals from the asteroid belt. Now it was a hidden fortress, one of dozens scattered across the outer edges of human space. Commander, we have another transmission from Earth, said Marcus Webb, her second in command. He had lost his left arm during a raid 2 years ago, but refused to let it slow him down. Chun turned away from the window. What does the Colonial Council want now? They're ordering all resistance groups to surrender. They say the Altarians have promised to spare civilian populations if we stop our attacks. Chun laughed, but there was no humor in it. The same Altarians who created the Void Swarm? The ones who fed our people to those monsters? And the council believes them? Some do. The blockade is getting worse. Food shipments aren't making it through. People are starving on New Tokyo and Harvest Prime. For 5 years, the Altarians had slowly tightened their grip around human space. They convinced the galactic community that humans were dangerous terrorists who had attacked their peaceful fleet. Every major trade route was watched. Every supply ship was searched. Any vessel carrying food or medicine to human colonies was turned away. The worst part was that many human leaders believed the Altarian lies. The Colonial Council on Earth thought the resistance was making things worse. They begged Chun and others like her to stop fighting, to accept whatever peace the aliens offered. Any word from Captain Torres? Chun asked. Her team reached the Proxima Station wreckage yesterday. She found something interesting. Webb handed Chun a datapad. The screen was a list of cargo manifests from destroyed Altarian ships. Chun's teams had been hitting supply convoys for months, always careful to make it look like pirate attacks rather than organized resistance. Look at line 47, Webb said. Chun scrolled down and stopped. Kethryn crystals? That's Vorkin. Technology. Keep reading, the list went on. Zenthari energy cells, Helker manufacturing equipment, Nexari computer cores. All items that should have belonged to other alien species, now being shipped on Altarian vessels. They're not just stealing from us, Chun said slowly. They're robbing everyone. That's what we think. Remember what Admiral Kethlin said during the battle? About telling other species that humans attacked their ships and stole their mining rights? Chun nodded. The aliens' words had haunted her. For years, we've been monitoring galactic communication networks. The pattern is everywhere. The Vorkin lost 3 mining colonies to human raiders last year. The Zenthari are missing an entire trade fleet that supposedly fell to human pirates. But we know our people didn't do any of those things. Because we were too busy running. For our lives, Chun said. The Altarians have been using our reputation as a cover for their own crimes. It gets worse. Dr. Yates finished analyzing those Void Swarm remains we recovered from the Titan colony massacre. The DNA samples show clear signs of artificial engineering, but not just Altarian engineering. Chun felt a cold chill run down her spine. What do you mean? The creatures contain genetic material from dozens of different species, Vorkin acid sacs, Zenthari energy absorption organs, Helker armor plating. The Altarians have been harvesting body parts from multiple races to create their weapons. The datapad slipped from Chun's hands and clattered to the floor. For years, she had thought the betrayal was just about humans, but this was something much larger and more horrible. How many species have they destroyed? She whispered, We don't know, but I found something else. 3 days ago, a damaged ship appeared at the edge of the Centauri system. It's not human design. Chun looked up sharply. Alien? Yes, the pilot is asking for sanctuary, says his people. Were betrayed by the Altarians 50 years ago. He's been hiding in deep space ever since. An hour later, Chun stood in the docking bay watching as the strange ship settled onto the landing platform. It was smaller than human vessels, with a triangular design and dark metal hull covered in strange symbols. Steam hissed from its engines as they cooled down. The airlock opened and a figure stepped out. Chun had never seen anything like it. The alien was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms. Its face was long and narrow, with large black eyes that seemed to see everything. It wore simple clothes that looked worn and patched. I am Zektar of the Nexari, the alien said in accented English. I seek the human resistance. I'm Commander Chun. How do you know our language? We learned it from your broadcast signals. 50 years we have watched and listened, hoping someone would see the truth about the Altarians. What truth? Zektar's black eyes grew sad. The same truth you learned 5 years ago? That they are destroyers wearing masks of friendship. Webb stepped forward. What happened to your people? We were engineers, builders of great machines and computers. When the Altarians first came to our world, we welcomed them, they said. They wanted to trade, to learn from each other. For 10 years, we shared our knowledge freely. The alien paused as if the memories were painful. Then they said our technology was dangerous, that we could not be trusted with it. They brought ships, claimed we had attacked their traders. The galactic community sided with them. When we tried to defend ourselves, they released the swarm. June felt sick. The void swarm destroyed your planet. Not destroyed, harvested. They took our best minds, our greatest engineers. Some they killed, others they kept alive to work in hidden facilities. Our world became a factory for creating more weapons. How many survived? Perhaps 1,000 scattered across the galaxy. We hide in old ships, on dead worlds, in places the Altarians consider worthless. We have been waiting for someone strong enough to fight back. Webb glanced at Chun. Why us? We're just refugees ourselves. Zektar made a sound that might have been laughter. Because you are still fighting. In 50 years, no species has resisted the Altarians as long as humans have. Others surrender quickly or die quickly, but humans adapt. Humans survive. Humans remember. What do you want from us? Chun asked. Alliance. The Nexari still have some of our technology hidden away. Computer systems the Altarians think they destroyed. With human determination and Nexari knowledge, we might have a chance. Chun thought about the data Webb had shown her. The stolen goods, the genetic harvesting, the decades of lies and manipulation. The Altarians weren't just humanity's enemy, they were a plague spreading across the galaxy. What do you know about other species? She asked. Are there others? Like you, other survivors? Yes, the HFY warrior clans were nearly exterminated 20 years ago. Some escaped to the Outer Rim. The Helker mining guilds lost their homeworld 30 years ago. Individual survivors from many races live in hiding, afraid to make contact with anyone. Because they think everyone else believes the Altarian lies. Exactly. But if word spread that humans were building a real resistance, that you had proof of Altarian crimes. Chun felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Hope, not just for survival, but for victory. Webb, call a meeting of all cell leaders. Emergency priority. Yes, Commander. What do I tell them? Tell them the war is about to change. We're not just fighting for humanity anymore. She turned back to Zektar. Welcome to the resistance, friend. It's time to show the galaxy what the Altarians really are. Outside the viewport, stars shined in the darkness. Chun knew that somewhere among those stars, other species were suffering under Altarian oppression. But they wouldn't suffer alone much longer. The exile was ending. The real fight was about to begin. The hidden base inside the dead moon of Vega Prime buzzed with activity. Sarah Shen walked through corridors carved from solid rock, watching as humans worked alongside aliens she had never imagined meeting. The base had grown from a simple hideout to a massive underground complex in just 2 years. Commander, the HFY delegation has arrived, reported Lieutenant Sofia Vasquez. She carried a rifle that looked nothing like standard human weapons. It was longer, with glowing blue energy cells and strange curved metal that seemed to shift color in the light. Chun nodded. The HFY were warriors from a species that looked like giant cats with gray fur and yellow eyes. They stood nearly 8 feet tall and had claws that could cut through steel. The Altarians had tried to wipe them out 20 years ago, claiming they were too violent to exist in civilized space. In the main meeting hall, representatives from 7 different species sat around a large metal table. Shane still found it hard to believe that such a gathering was possible. For decades, the Altarians had convinced everyone that other races couldn't work together, that humans especially were too primitive and aggressive. Zektar, the Nexari engineer, was explaining something to war leader Thakener of the HFY. The massive cat-like alien listened carefully, his ears twitching as he processed the technical details. The weapon modifications are working better than expected, Zektar said. Human adaptability combined with Nexari technology and HFY metallurgy creates weapons the Altarians cannot match. Chun took her seat at the head of the table. Around her sat the survivors of Altarian betrayal. Besides Zektar and Thakaner, there was Engineer Primelok High of the Helkar, whose people had been master miners before losing their homeworld. There was Scout Captain Valana of the Xanthari, whose species had controlled vast trade networks until the Altarians destroyed their merchant fleets. Each species brought something valuable. The Nexari had computer technology that made human systems look like toys. The Kethver knew metallurgy and weapon crafting that turned simple materials into deadly tools. The Helkar understood mining and engineering on a scale that amazed even human workers. The Xanthari had maps of secret space routes and knowledge of hidden supply caches. Status report, Chun said. Captain Webb stood up. His missing arm had been replaced with a mechanical one built by Helkar engineers using Nexari computer systems. It was stronger than his original arm and could interface directly with ship controls. Our network now includes 47 operational cells across 12 star systems. We have successfully made contact with survivor groups from 15 different species. Total personnel, 8,000 humans, 2,000 aliens. Weapons and ships? Thanks to our allies, we now have 68 combat vessels. Not just human ships anymore? Kethver fighters, Nexari stealth scouts, even 2 Helkar heavy cruisers that were thought destroyed decades ago. Thakaner spoke in his deep, growling voice. My people have established training camps on 3 worlds. Human soldiers learn Kethver close combat techniques. Kethver warriors learn human tactical flexibility. Together we are stronger than either species alone, Chun smiled. The big alien was right. Human creativity combined with alien knowledge was producing incredible results. They had developed new battle strategies, new weapons, and new ways of thinking about warfare that the Altarians had never seen before. What about intelligence gathering? Chun asked. Valana, the Xanthari scout, activated a holographic display in the center of the table. Images of star charts and shipping routes appeared in the air above them. We have identified the main Altarian supply networks, she said in her musical voice. The Xanthari looked almost human except for their blue skin and silver hair. They are moving massive amounts of resources from conquered worlds to hidden construction facilities. Construction facilities for what? Unknown. But the scale is enormous. Entire planets' worth of raw materials disappearing into secret locations. Zektar leaned forward. My people have been monitoring Altarian communication networks. We decoded some of their military signals 3 months ago. He touched a control, and the holographic display changed to show a series of symbols and numbers. They are planning something called final cleansing, from what we can understand. It involves eliminating all remaining free populations of conquered species. A cold silence fell over the meeting. Chin felt her stomach clench with fear and anger. All remaining populations? She asked. Every human colony, every Kethver survivor camp, every hidden Nexari settlement. They want to finish what they started with each of our species. Lakai, the Helkar engineer, spoke for the first time. His people were short and stocky, with thick gray skin and small black eyes. How long before they are ready? Based on resource shipment patterns, approximately 18 months, Zektar replied. Webb slammed his mechanical fist on the table. 18 months? We can't build a fleet large enough to stop them in 18 months. We don't need to stop them, Chun said quietly. We need to stop their plan before they can start it. Everyone looked at her. Explain, Thakaner growled. Chun stood up and walked to the holographic display. She studied the shipping routes and facility locations for a long moment. The Altarians think they're fighting primitive rebels. Small groups of survivors hiding in the dark. They don't know we've united. They don't know we've been sharing technology. They definitely don't know we've broken their communication codes. Your point? Valana asked. They're not expecting a real war. They're expecting to hunt down scattered refugees. But what if instead of waiting for them to come to us, we bring the war to them? Zektar's black eyes grew wider. You mean attack their home territories? I mean show the galaxy what they really are. For too long, they've controlled the flow of information. Every species believes their version of events because no one else has been able to present evidence to the contrary. Chun touched the display controls, highlighting several key Altarian worlds. What if we captured one of their major facilities? What if we recovered proof of their genetic experiments, their weapons development, their systematic destruction of other species? What if we broadcast that proof to every world in the galaxy? The other species would turn against them, Thakoner sighed, understanding dawning in his yellow eyes. Exactly. The Altarians stay in power because everyone believes they're the good guys, but they can't fight the entire galaxy at once. Lakai shook his head. Their facilities are heavily defended. They have planetary shields, massive fleets. How could we possibly penetrate their defenses? Chun smiled grimly, because we have something they don't expect. We have each other. She began outlining her plan. Human stealth technology improved with Nexari computer systems. Kethver assault troops equipped with Helker armor and weapons. Zenthari pilots flying ships that combine the best technology from 5 different species. It's ambitious, Webb said when she finished. Extremely dangerous. Everything we've done has been dangerous, Chun replied. But this is our chance to change the entire war. Instead of playing defense until they wipe us out, we take the fight to them. Valana studied the tactical displays. Which facility do we target? Chun highlighted a star system near the galactic core. Research Station Omega, according to our intelligence. It's where they develop new Void Swarm variants. It's also where they store genetic samples from all the species they've harvested. The evidence would be undeniable, Zektar said. And if we can capture their research data, we might be able to find a way to turn the Void Swarm against its creators, Chun added. The alien representatives looked at each other. Chen could see them weighing the risks against the potential rewards. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about justice for all the species the Altarians had destroyed. Thakoner was the first to speak. The Kethver clans will follow you into this battle, Commander Chun. Our people deserve vengeance. One by one, the others agreed. Lakai offered Helker engineering support. Valana promised Zenthari navigation expertise. Zektar volunteered his people's most advanced computer viruses. Then it's decided, Chun said. We prepare for 18 months, and then we show the galaxy the truth. As the meeting ended and the alien delegates returned to their quarters, Webb stayed behind with Chun. You realize this changes everything, he said. If we succeed, we'll start a galactic war. Chin looked out through the base's main viewport at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, the Altarians were preparing to commit genocide on a scale never before seen. Other species lived in ignorance, unaware that their trusted allies were planning to destroy them all. The war already started, she replied. We're just finally going to fight back. The first strike came at dawn on the planet Altaio 7 when the morning sun cast long shadows across the military supply depot. Sarah Chun watched through her helmet display as Kethver warriors moved like gray ghosts between the storage buildings. Their natural stealth abilities, combined with human-designed scrambler fields, made them invisible to Altarian sensors. Team Alpha in position, whispered War Leader Thakoner through the communication channel. His voice was barely a growl. Chun crouched behind a rocky outcrop 2 kilometers away, commanding the assault from her mobile command post. Around her, screens showed the positions of all her forces. Human soldiers, Kethver warriors, Nexari, technicians, and Helker engineers worked together like parts of a perfect machine. Team Beta report, she said. We have control of the communication array, replied Captain Webb. Altarian distress signals are being blocked. No one knows we're here. The depot contained enough weapons and supplies to outfit an entire Altarian battle fleet. But more importantly, it held shipping records that would prove where those weapons were being sent and what they were being used for. Zektar, are you ready to crack their computer systems? The Nexari engineer was hidden inside, a stolen Altarian maintenance vehicle near the main administrative building. Ready, Commander? Their security codes are old. We broke similar systems 50 years ago, Chun smiled grimly. The Altarians had become overconfident after decades of easy victories. They never imagined that their victims might survive long. Enough to learn from their mistakes, All teams execute. The attack happened so fast that the Altarian guards didn't have time to understand what was hitting them. HFY warriors appeared from nowhere, their energy claws slicing through weapons and equipment with surgical precision. They didn't kill unless necessary. Chun had been very clear about that. This was about gathering evidence, not revenge. At least, not yet. Human soldiers using Nexari stealth technology captured the command center within minutes. Helkor engineers began loading supply containers onto their hidden transport ships. Everything moved like clockwork. "Commander, I'm in their main computer," Zektar reported. "Downloading shipping manifests, destination codes, and cargo specifications. You need to see this." Data flowed across Chain's screen. Lists of weapons, supplies, and equipment being shipped to dozens of worlds. But one category made her blood run cold. "Biological specimens," she read aloud. "Living samples from conquered species. The manifests show they've been collecting people for over a century. Thousands of individuals from dozens of races." Chun felt sick. The Altarians weren't just stealing resources, they were stealing people. Probably for their genetic experiments. How long until download is complete? 3 minutes. "All teams, prepare for extraction. We've got what we came for." But as the teams began pulling back, alarms suddenly started blaring across the facility. Red lights flashed and automated voices announced an emergency in the Altarian language. "Commander, we have a problem," Webb called out. 3 Altarian patrol ships just dropped out of hyperspace. "They're heading this way fast," Chun cursed. "Someone must have triggered a silent alarm." "How long until they arrive?" 6 minutes. "Zektar, can you speed up the download?" "Already working at maximum speed." 2 more minutes. Chun made a quick decision. Team Alpha set up defensive positions around the computer center. Team Beta prep the transport ships for immediate departure. We hold until Zektar finishes, then we run. The next few minutes felt like hours. Chun watched her display as the Altarian ships grew closer. They were sleek patrol vessels, each carrying enough firepower to destroy the entire facility if they wanted to. "Download complete," Zektar announced. "I also planted some surprises in their systems. When they try to access their computers later, they'll find some interesting information about human capabilities." All teams fall back to extraction point. The combined force retreated in perfect order, covering each other as they moved. The HFY were the last to leave, making sure no one was left behind. Shen felt a surge of pride as she watched species that had been enemies for centuries working together. Like family. The transport ships lifted off just as the first Altarian patrol vessel arrived, but instead of pursuing the fleeing ships, the patrol focused on the facility below. Through her rear cameras, Qin watched Altarian soldiers examining the damage. "They're confused," Webb observed, probably wondering how raiders knew exactly what to steal and what to leave behind. "Let them wonder," Chun replied. "We have 12 more targets to hit this month." Over the following weeks, the pattern repeated across Altarian space. Supply convoys vanished without a trace. Research stations suffered. Mysterious computer failures that erased critical data while broadcasting embarrassing secrets across local communication networks. Military bases found their weapons mysteriously disabled, forcing them to call for help and revealing their locations to Shun's intelligence network. But the most important strike came 3 months later at Research Station. Amiga near the Galactic core. Chun led this mission personally, along with her most experienced teams. The station was a massive structure built inside a hollow asteroid, heavily shielded and defended by an entire fleet of Altarian warships. "This is different from the other targets," Falconer warned as they studied the tactical displays. "They have enough firepower to destroy a small planet." "Which is why we're not going to fight them directly," Chun replied. "Valana, show us the approach route." The Zenthori navigator activated her display, showing a complex path through the asteroid field surrounding the station. "There's an old mining tunnel that leads directly to the station's lower levels. It was abandoned decades ago, but it's still structurally sound. How do we get past their sensors? We don't. We make them look somewhere else. Jun's plan was typically human in its audacity. While a small strike team infiltrated the station through the mining tunnel, the rest of their fleet would create a massive distraction on the opposite side of the system. Lakai's people have prepared special cargo containers, Webb explained. They look like standard supply shipments, but they're actually packed with sensor drones and signal generators. When they explode, they'll create false readings that make it look like a huge fleet is attacking. The Altarians will send all their forces to investigate, Chun continued. Meanwhile, we'll be inside their most secret facility, copying everything we can find. The plan worked perfectly. Chun and her team crawled through kilometers of dark mining tunnels while explosions lit up space on the far side of the system. When they finally reached the station's lower levels, they found it almost deserted. Everyone had gone to deal with. The fake invasion, what they discovered inside exceeded their worst fears. Laboratory after laboratory filled with genetic samples, research notes, and experimental data. Video recordings of alien species being dissected while still alive. Plans for new void swarm variants designed to target specific genetic markers from different races, but worst of all was the main computer core, which contained a complete list of every species the Altarians had destroyed over the past 500 years. Hundreds of intelligent races, wiped out and forgotten, their only memorial buried in classified files. We're not the first, Chun whispered as she stared at the endless list of extinct species. We're not even close to the first. Zektar worked frantically to copy the data while Thakiner and his warriors stood guard. Commander, you need to see this file. It's marked Final Solution Protocol. Chun opened the file and felt her knees go weak. The Altarians weren't just planning to eliminate remaining free populations of conquered species. They were planning to release a new version of the Void Swarm that would consume every living thing in the galaxy except for Altarians themselves. They want to be the only species left alive, she said in horror. Not just alive, Zektar corrected. According to this, they plan to repopulate empty worlds with genetically modified versions of extinct species. Creatures that look like the original races but are completely loyal to Altarian control. A galaxy of slaves wearing the faces of the dead, Thakiner growled. Chun felt something break inside her chest. All these years, she had thought the Altarians were just conquerors seeking power and resources. But this was something far worse. This was the complete destruction of everything that made life worth living. Copy everything, she ordered. Every file, every research note, every video recording. The galaxy needs to see this. Already done? Commander, but we need to go. My sensors are detecting ships returning to the station. They escaped through the mining tunnels just as the Altarian fleet returned from chasing phantom enemies. Behind them, the research station continued its work, unaware that its darkest secrets had been stolen. Back at the hidden base, Jun stood before the assembled representatives of the Resistance Alliance. The evidence was spread out on displays. Around the room, video recordings of genetic experiments, lists of extinct species, plans for galactic genocide. We're not fighting for our freedom anymore, she told them. We're fighting for the right of life itself to exist in this galaxy. Villana was the first to speak. How do we make sure every species sees this evidence? We broadcast it everywhere at once, Chun replied. Every communication network, every news channel, every diplomati. The broadcast went out across the galaxy at exactly 12 noon, Galactic Standard Time. Sarah Chun watched from the bridge of her flagship, the used Defiance Reborn, as the evidence of Altarian crimes flooded every communication network in known. Video recordings of genetic experiments played on news channels across 1,000 worlds. Documents proving centuries of genocide appeared on diplomatic networks. The list of extinct species scrolled endlessly across public information displays in every major city. Initial response reports are coming in, announced Captain Webb from his station. The Vorkan High Council has declared the Altarian trade agreements void. The Zethari commercial fleet is refusing to honor shipping contracts. 3 minor species have already announced their withdrawing from Altarian protection treaties. Chun felt a grim satisfaction. The truth was spreading faster than the Altarians could contain it. For 500 years they had controlled information flow across the galaxy, but they had never faced an enemy that understood communication networks as well as humans did. What about the major powers? She asked. The Hegemony Council is calling for an emergency session. They want to review all evidence before making official statements. Chun nodded. The big species would be more cautious, more political. But even they couldn't ignore proof this overwhelming forever. Commander, incoming transmission from Admiral Kethlin, reported Lieutenant Vasquez. He's requesting immediate talks. Chun almost laughed. The same Altarian who had betrayed humanity 6 years ago now wanted to negotiate. Put him through. The main screen flickered and showed the familiar silver-eyed face that haunted Chun's nightmares. But Kethlin looked different now. Older, more desperate, with lines of stress around his eyes. Commander Chun, he said, his voice carefully controlled. I believe there has been a serious misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, Chun replied. Just truth. How does it feel to have the galaxy see you for what you really are? The files you stole are taken out of context. Research projects that were discontinued. Theoretical scenarios that were never implemented. Surely we can discuss this like civilized beings. Civilized? Chun felt her anger rising. You created weapons out of living people. You turned entire species into monsters. You planned to exterminate every form of life that wasn't Altarian. Propaganda and lies. Even if some unfortunate experiments were conducted, they were necessary for galactic security. The lesser species needed guidance, protection from their own violent natures, like you protected the Nexari, the Kethver, all those species on your extinction list. Kethlin's mask of calm slipped slightly. Those actions were regrettable but necessary. Some species simply could not adapt to civilized society. Better to end their suffering quickly than allow them to destroy themselves and others. Shin stared at the alien's face, remembering all the people who had died believing his lies. Her friends in escape pods, consumed by the void swarm, millions of humans who had trusted Altarian protection and received only betrayal. Admiral Kethlin, she said slowly, I want you to understand something very clearly. This conversation is being broadcast live to every world in the galaxy. Everyone can see and hear what you just said. The Altarian's silver eyes widened in shock. You cannot, I can and I am? Let them hear you dismiss the extinction of entire species as regrettable but necessary. Let them hear you call billions of sentient beings lesser species that needed to be guided or eliminated. She gestured to Webb, who cut the transmission. Across the galaxy, trillions of beings had just watched an Altarian admiral calmly defend genocide while claiming it was for their own good. Think that will change some minds? Webb asked. It better. Because in 6 hours we're going to need all the help we can get. Chun turned to study the tactical display showing the Kepler system, where this all began 6 years ago. The Altarians had assembled their largest fleet there, over 800 ships preparing to launch their final solution protocol. But they weren't alone anymore. The combined resistance fleet was smaller. Only 300 ships, but it included vessels and crews from over 30 different species. Humans flying ships built with Nexari technology. Kethver warriors manning weapons designed by Helker engineers. Xanthari pilots navigating attack routes through space lanes they had mapped for centuries. Fleet status report, Shun ordered. All ships report ready for battle, Webb replied. The Vorkan heavy cruisers have taken position on our left flank. The Hegemony Council decided to send observers, but they're staying out of weapons range. Observers? They want to see how this ends before picking a side, Chun wasn't surprised. Politics moves slowly, even in the face of overwhelming evidence. But that was fine. She had enough allies for what needed to be done. Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the Altarian flagship, Vasquez announced. Admiral Kethlin again? On screen, this time, Kethlin's face showed open fury. Behind him, Chin could see the bridge of an Altarian super dreadnought, huge and gleaming white with weapons that could crack planets. You have made a terrible mistake, human. Did you think your pathetic fleet could stand against the might of the Altarian Empire? We have conquered this galaxy for 500 years. We will not be stopped by a handful of primitive rebels. Maybe not, Chen agreed. But you're not just fighting rebels anymore. She nodded to her communications officer, who opened a channel to the entire combined fleet. This is Commander Chun, to all ships. 6 years ago, the Altarians betrayed humanity. During our darkest hour, they fed our people to monsters they had created. They scattered us across the galaxy and tried to make us disappear into history like so many species before us. Her voice carried across space to hundreds of ships filled with beings from dozens of worlds. But we didn't disappear. We survived. We learned. We found each other. And we found you, survivors of other betrayals, other genocides, other lies. Today we don't fight as separate species. We fight as one people with one purpose: to end the Altarian threat forever. Through her viewports, Chien could see the massive Altarian fleet moving into attack formation. Their ships were larger, more advanced, more heavily armed. By every measure, they should win this battle easily. All ships engage the enemy. Space erupted into chaos. Energy beams lanced between the fleets like lightning. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. The vacuum filled with debris and expanding gas. Clouds from damaged vessels, but something was different from the battle 6 years ago. This time, the Altarians faced enemies who knew their tactics, their weaknesses, their technology. Human adaptability, combined with alien knowledge, created strategies the Altarians had never seen. Zentari pilots flew attack patterns that confused Altarian targeting systems. Kethver warriors used boarding pods that their claws could tear through Altarian hull metal. Nexari computer viruses turned Altarian weapons against their own ships. Direct hit on their command ship, Webb reported. Their flagship is losing power. Chun watched as Admiral Kethlin-S super dreadnought drifted helplessly, its weapons dark and its engines dead. Around it, the Altarian fleet was falling apart as ship after ship suffered critical damage or surrender. Commander, we're detecting massive energy buildup from the planet below, Vasquez called out. They're trying to activate something. Chun's blood went cold. The final solution weapon. How long until it's ready? Unknown. But the energy readings are enormous. Chun made a desperate decision. All ships, concentrate fire on the planetary installation, everything we have. The combined fleet turned its weapons toward the planet's surface. Hundreds of energy beams struck the hidden facility where the Altarians had built their ultimate weapon. The ground erupted in massive explosions that could be seen from space, but it wasn't enough. Deep underground, ancient machinery continued to build toward critical activation levels. There's only one way to stop it, Chun said quietly, ramming speed. Target the main reactor complex. Commander, that's suicide, Webb protested. Maybe, but if that weapon activates, every living thing in this galaxy dies except the Altarians? At least this way we take them with us. The Defiance Reborn accelerated toward the planet at maximum speed. Behind her, Shen saw other ships following. Not just human vessels, but Kethver fighters, Nexari scouts, even some of the Vorkan heavy cruisers. They weren't going to let her die alone. The last second, the planetary weapon overloaded. Whether from the bombing or from Chun's ship striking the reactor, the entire installation went critical. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. When the light faded, the Altarian fleet was gone. Their homeworld was a glowing crater. And floating in space among the debris, a few dozen ships carried the survivors of the greatest battle in galactic history. Status report, Chun said weakly from the medical bay where she was recovering from radiation exposure. The Altarian Empire has surrendered, Webb reported, his voice filled with wonder. Their remaining colonies are asking for protection from the new Galactic Alliance. The Hegemony Council has officially recognized our coalition as the legitimate governing body for this sector. And the other species? Celebrating. The Vorkan are throwing festivals. The Kethver are composing victory songs. Even species we've never heard of are sending congratulations and requesting